we met. I think it was, she likes clarinet players, although I'm a flute player. But I think it was Jim Campbell, right?
He's from my hometown in Leduc, Alberta, and he came from Leduc, and so that was the connection. I saw he was performing at Gretna, and I wanted to see my hometown buddy, well, or hero in a sense. So
I had to, Maria is so multi-talented, I had to write down all of these things to characterize her. She's obviously a pianist, but she's also an organist. She's a collaborative as well as a solo pianist. She's a composer. More lately in her life, she's a composer and arranger. She's a poet. She has written poems. She's written more than one novel. She does voiceovers. She's a commentator and all-purpose intellectual active person that probably does lots more things than I have on my list here.
I'm a mom.
That's
a big one.
Actually, that was on my list.
Okay.
I have two very talented kids, and she lives right near us. So we're all blessed to have Maria in our community. I looked up soulscapes on a dictionary and I couldn't find it. I found cityscapes and landscapes and seascapes. I sort of think I know what soulscapes, which is the name of her CD, actually second CD. We don't even know what the first Soulscapes 1 was. Maybe you can talk about that. Mm-hmm. And why is it called Soulscapes and what's it about?
Soulscapes is a word I made up, as you may have surmised. And as you say, you can talk about landscapes. Well, the scape part, I guess, is sort of the topography or geography of something, what defines it in a sense. And so I use the word soul in the sense of something coming from deep within. Also because, when you think of soul music, you think of people of African descent, specifically African-American. And so, I was thinking of landscapes of the souls of these women who created these pieces. And Soulscapes 1, the first one, which I thought would be the only one, was just African-American women. I had come into possession of some music in a collection by Hildegard Publishing it was called 100 Years of Music by Black Women Composers. And I had done one solo recording of music by Leslie Adams, a wonderful composer from Cleveland, African-American, and being, as you say, a commentator, I have, my little activist streaks. And so I thought, well, I'm going to do one with just women this time. And so I found that music and I recorded it, and I was grateful that Albany released it. Louise Toppin of Videmus was willing to take that on in their catalog. And so anyway, that came out, and I wasn't sure who was listening or if anybody was listening, but I was, it was a project that I did not because I thought people were asking me to. I just felt it should be done, and so I did. And so then that was 2006. And I didn't really expect to make another recording. I mean, first of all, at least in my line of recording work, people expect you to pay a lot of stuff for the expenses, so it's expensive. But when the pandemic hit, some concerts went away, and somewhere in the middle or early part of it, I discovered that there were pianists from across the ocean, some of them really rather eminent, who were aware of soulscapes. And I found that there were other people who were aware of soulscapes. And someone who I've never met, but has become, I would say, a friend, Jared Oakes, is a pianist based in Utah. And he reached out to me on Facebook or something and said, he was an admirer of my playing. And, is there something that you're working on? I mean, if there is, I'd love to help you raise money for it. And so that sort of seeds got planted of like, well, I have time. I wonder if I could do another one, and why, I don't know. It's just, I mean, yeah, I guess I could have taken some time off. Instead, I ended up like practicing like a maniac for months and months and months. I had some scores that I'd never learned. I went back through that Hildegard collection and found some other pieces that I'd never done. At this point, I'd already sort of started to get some traction as a composer. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do something similar, let me record some of my own music. So I wrote a couple pieces, and I found the set that seems to keep on giving that I wrote when I was about 14, maybe 13, 14, these short 5 little pieces that, somebody else chose to also play on in an online concert. They asked for my piano music and they really liked them. So anyway, I decided to resurrect them. And then, yeah, the other pieces kind of fell into place. Someone sent me one. I commissioned 3 from a composer who used to actually live in the Lancaster area. Her name is Crystal Grant Folkstad. So I got 3 short pieces from her. I wanted to represent not just America, but the diaspora. I mean, I'm an American citizen, but I was raised in Canada. I was born in Jamaica. And so, I investigated very little to find these wonderful composers who are based in the UK, Eleanor Alberga, Erilyn Wallen, and Shirley Thompson, who knows, maybe she's related to me somehow, I don't know, because she also has Jamaican roots. So yeah, and these are like very, very eminent composers who are very well known there. Like the music has been performed at the proms. Shirley Thompson won an OBE, all these things. And then I wanted someone from Africa, at least 1 or 2. That was a little harder to find as far as people who had piano music that was ready to go. And so I discovered this Emahoy Sengimarian Guebru. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I don't speak the language of Ethiopia, but very, very interesting woman who, I guess she's still alive. She must be about 100 years old, is a nun who fled Mussolini and persecution. And it's mainly, music is very different. They called her the Honky Tonk Nun. They made this documentary on BBC a few years ago, but it's not at all honky tonk. I think you'd agree, that piece that you heard it's not honky tonk at all, but it's sort of influenced by the chant of her church, the Ethiopian Orthodox, or the language. But anyway, yeah, she was going to be a musician. She hoped to be a musician. She was denied entrance into the Royal Academy. I'm not sure why, but then after that, she said, oh, well, I guess I'll become a nun. And that's what she did.
And this is Mary Lou Williams?
No, Mary Lou Williams is a whole different story. Although she was apparently a very religious woman. No, the honky tonk through you. No, that was Emahoy Zenge Mariam, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Guebru, or however you pronounce that.
I got it.
Yeah,
okay.
That's her. Now, Mary Lou Williams, no, her career, I mean, she was very eminent as a band leader and composer, and really quite amazing that a woman in the 40s was a band leader who did well as a band leader, but she was just an undeniable talent. And I heard that you really enjoyed that nightlife. I enjoyed it in theory. When I heard her playing it, I was so blown away. It was so fast and so amazingly impressive. And it was in that book, that Hildegard book. And I was like, well, let me try this. And over time, I was like, why, maybe I should drop this one. It's just so hard to play stride piano. I mean, it's just like, and she was so fast. And I was like, okay, do I keep doing this? This is really killing me. And then I was like, well, I spent this much time on it. I should just keep pushing forward. And then I was like, will I ever play it as fast as she does? And it's like, well, do I have to do that? And this big struggle because it was such a hard piece. And Ritual was like that too. Ritual was like, wow, this score is crazy. What the heck is she doing? You're jumping all over the place. And what are these tempos? But Tanya Leon, who is of Cuban descent, she recently, I mean, she's a very much awarded, and was it a Pulitzer that she won recently for one of her orchestral compositions? But again, this is diving into waters that I probably wouldn't have if not for a pandemic, because I just haven't practiced that much since I was in school. I mean, it was just way over the top. But in the end, I'm glad that I put them in a recording. Yeah.
How much do you practice every day on the piano? You've got so many other things to do.
It depends on what else I have to do. I mean, it's these days it's goal oriented. So if I have stuff to practice that requires 2 hours, then I'll do 2 hours. If it requires 1 hour, I'll do 1 hour. That was like 5 hours regularly, 4 and 5 hours. And like I said, I wrote in the comments on the preview thing that, I hadn't practiced that much since I was doing the doctoral program. And my last doctoral recital was the Schumann Fantasy, the Bartok Sonata. I played these 7 short pieces by Bernstein and pictures at an exhibition, all in the same program, which is insane. But it was that level of practicing. I mean, maybe I learned more quickly back then, and that's why it took, but yeah, this is a really challenging program. I got on a whole tangent, Carl. Why don't I wait for you to ask a question? Here we go.
How many of these pieces on your CD did you actually write?
I wrote 7 of them, and 3 were new for the CD when I decided to do a CD. And then 4 were the ones I mentioned, this really short set called Nautical Glimpses, Tales of a Kindergarten Class, that I wrote when I was about 13 years old.
Do we want to hear one of them? Suzanne, can you play it? Not one of those pieces, but which one are you going to play, Micah?
I'm going to play the first one, which is called the Jamaican Medley.
Okay, that's by Eleanor Alberga.
She's gonna play.
Wow, I can see what you mean. That would take a lot of work.
That one was hard. I can put it at the beginning of a recording, but I don't start the concert with that one. I'd need a little warm up into that one, actually. Yeah.
So are you going to take these on the road at any time?
Well, I have some prospects for at least one concert in May. I haven't really spent a lot of time booking or trying to figure out ways to do that, in the sense that I've been really immersed in composing of late. Like, I've been getting commissions, and I'm an accidental opera composer. This wasn't something I saw myself doing, but I ended up writing 2 short operas, and then one of the librettists approached me about another project she had in mind, and somebody the other day just asked me about turning some art songs that I'd written into, I wrote these 4 Foxy Fables, and they mentioned maybe trying to make a children's opera out of this idea of Aesop's fables about foxes. And I have another project from a Canadian art song project that I have to write, and it's a joy to do so. A cycle for an up-and-coming singer, and we have 3 poets of Black Canadian descent, of which I'm one of them, contributing text for this project. And I'm forgetting something. Anyway, like, I've just been sort of trying to keep certain balls in the air without dropping those. And then, I have, but anyway, to be more specific, I have a concert sort of tentatively in the works for Hershey Medical Center has this series that they call, and I wish I could remember, but it's, they have a beautiful Steinway, and I was asked by Claire DeBurr, and so probably in the spring, and I will certainly let the people at Gretna know when a date is ascertained. It's really kind of up to me, and me feeling like I have had enough time to really prepare it and get it back in my fingers so I can do what I want to do with all that challenging stuff.
Yeah, what you can't just sit down tomorrow and play through the whole CD. It takes you quite a while to get it back under your fingers, I imagine.
No, yeah, it's some of it is easier than other things, but I learned it all from scratch from the CD, which was kind of not the way that I would prefer usually to do something like that. Like usually I would want to have something that I really know, and maybe I do a couple new pieces, and it's not like just everything from scratch. That was really, it was just the opportunity presented itself, and I didn't know how long this pandemic was going to go on. I knew that there was no rush. I just said, okay, I'm going to immerse myself in this before my life turns back into what it was, which was, I have this concert now, and I have this concert there, and doing this thing, and like just trying to keep them all going, and not really having time to just focus on music that people either weren't specifically asking me to play, that would take a lot of effort to learn properly. So yeah.
You're fitting right in with the article that I sent you yesterday by Alex Ross in the New Yorker. That
yes,
one of the messages was that we think of opera as grand opera, and each production costs $1 billion in the Metropolitan Opera House or big opera house. The trend now is moving towards opera as a smaller event, smaller, shorter, far less expensive. And that sounds like you're riding with that trend without even knowing about it. Or have you? Were you aware of that?
Well, I mean, the reason I started writing opera was that I was asked to do, these short pieces that were going to be just online, and the idea was 11 minutes or less. And so, and it makes perfect sense. And the article is about Devon Tynes and how he is taking this approach to being theatrical into the recital. And there's opera, and but there's also dance. There's all these multimedia things, and the multimedia idea has been growing. But the idea of making it not for a huge orchestra with a huge chorus, so that it's lighter on its feet, so to speak. You don't need huge amounts of money to stage these things, and they can be in smaller venues. I mean, that's something that was mentioned as part of, like, we were at the African American Art Song Alliance conference that my friend Daryl Taylor started, that organization. They have in California, in Irvine, these conventions every 5 years. And that was one of the things that was mentioned, is like, why don't we make opera something smaller? And then you don't have to wait for the gatekeepers to decide, well, we want an opera about this, if we're going to spend all this money on your opera. It's like, no, we can go to a smaller organization, maybe in a church that's interested. You have a few singers, you have a piano, and maybe a couple of other instruments. And, you can take it to whoever, and you can make it about whatever you want, and hopefully find an audience who likes it, without saying it has to appeal to the so-called mainstream, whatever that means.
Makes a lot of sense. I remember we did the Pergolesi opera, forget the name of it, on stage with three singers, a pianist, and a very minimal stage setup. So that makes a lot of sense. You can put it on, it travels easily. You put it on at the drop of a hat, so to speak.
La Serva Padrona.
Thank you. We're getting down to the 20-minute limit. Do you want to play a little bit? These are both excerpts, right? The first one, the Jamaican Medley, and the other one we've chosen, the Fantasy Negre. These are both excerpts, not the entire pieces, but maybe just play 60 seconds of this. Okay, that's lovely. It's time for the audience to ask a few questions. Maybe they have some better ones than I have. Anybody
If
else?
anybody has any question and want to unmute and ask, or if you want to put it in the chat box, that's fine. Should I start with the quiz? We can start with the quiz. Well, Maria, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your CD?
Well, yes, you can get it. There's a button on my website, www.mariacorley.com. You can also buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on iTunes. It should be available on other major platforms if it isn't already, such as Spotify. The MSR Classics website also has it, and I think that's where my the button will take you to. But it should be available on all major platforms, if not right now, very soon.
If they buy it on your website, which I would recommend, because if you buy something on Amazon, the artist or the author gets like 2 cents on the dollar of the cost of the product. So I advise people to go to Maria's website and buy it there.
Yeah.
Hey, Joseph Williams, you got something to say or ask?
I do. It's more of a comment. Hi, Maria. Long time no see.
Yeah.
I just wanted to hop on to tell you face to face or Zoom to Zoom. Congratulations on this monumental achievement. I remember over the summer you doing a live performance, which you shared over Zoom at a church. And it was so deeply inspiring, and it felt like it was recording ready even back then. And I'm so proud of your achievements. This is such a huge accomplishment. It's such an amazing addition to just, I don't know, the tapestry of recordings that exist. This music is not nearly recorded enough by musicians of your caliber. And I guess my question is just, well, my question is, say a funding opportunity for a third album revealed itself. When can we expect that?
Okay, so let's talk when you have the funding opportunity. See, when the funding opportunity is real, then I'll answer your question.
Maria, do you want it? That last excerpt we played was a little bit of one of your pieces. Do you want to just talk about it a little bit?
Well, that wasn't me. That was Florence Price. That was Fantasy.
Oh, was it?
Florence Price, yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's having a moment. I'm hoping that she doesn't obliterate everybody else. So it seems almost like she's the go-to, like, we have to do more Black composers. Let's do more Florence Price. And she's worthy of this spotlight, absolutely. Again, I just hope that she doesn't become like, we're checking the box. We got Florence Price and we don't need anybody else. But it's a fabulous piece. It's in the wheelhouse of what I usually am most comfortable with, which is the more kind of romantic. And so I really, really enjoyed working on that particular piece, I will say. It's based on a spiritual Sinner, Please Don't Let This Harvest Pass, for those who didn't recognize that tune.
3 questions. Maria, is the download available on your site too instead of a CD?
The download isn't available on the site, but it is on iTunes.
And what kind of funding are you talking?
Well,
There you go.
yeah, it's thousands of dollars. The thing is, the recording process, obviously that's an hourly thing. There's the editing process. And in my case, I did commission a few pieces. So, that wouldn't have to happen every time. And then to release your project, you have to pay the record company to actually release your project. You're paying for the postage and you're paying for the promotion and things like that. So, what they give you is the legitimacy of being on a record label in the sense of just self-releasing it, and they do have the networks to promoting it, and again in a way that people won't just say, who's this person, you know. So yeah, that's really what you're paying for, is access.
So we were talking 5 figures at least, I assume.
Not at least, but you know, upwards of 4. Yeah, so do you want like a specific number? It depends on,
Just curious. And I was also wondering if
some of it depends on, like, you know, how much editing is going to happen, how much how many takes do you have to do to get whatever it is right. So if we're talking like $7,000 or, you know, something like that, something like that.
And you're lucky if you earn
More
10% of that.
Yeah, basically, I mean, I suppose if you are someone who is touring a lot, then you can, you know, sell things at your concerts. Because of my situation, you know, I have a son who, it's not like I can't leave him ever. My son on the autism spectrum, an adult son, and, you know, he's sort of a major concern for me. I can't take him to concerts because he's not necessarily going to be quiet through the concert, and people have certain protocols that they're not cool with that. So, but I don't know where it goes. It's just, I think the music should be heard. I had the opportunity, I got some stimulus money, somebody raised some money for me, and this is how I chose to spend my time and my money. And I'm hoping that it will spur on still more people to be interested in this music, to program it, because a lot of it has been unduly neglected. And there are lots of people who are writing music right now, and music should not have, like, the walls of the canon should not be as narrow as they've been. And I think people are starting to see that. So it was a thing I felt like I should do, you know, I felt a calling to do it. And the time was now, or it kind of felt like never, because you know, this pandemic gave me an opportunity, honestly. And so I took it.
Glad you did, and it's worth it. Everybody should buy the CD.
Thank you.
So, anybody else have any questions? Oh, Lisa does too.
Hi, Maria. It's
Hi.
wonderful, of course. I would expect nothing less. If you were to do another project, which I'm sure you will, but if you were to do another CD, what would you want to be on it?
Well, I mean, I should mention there is a CD of recordings of my arrangements of spirituals, solo spirituals, that is coming out in February on a different label. My singer Maria Clark, who is a wonderful Atlanta-based singer, initiated the idea. It was her idea, and so I went along with that. And I'm not sure I was supposed to say too much about it because she wanted to keep it kind of under wraps. So I'm just, you didn't hear it from me. But otherwise than that, I mean, I've written a lot of art songs, and I would love to see them recorded. I mean, I would love to see, I mean, skewing a little bit towards my own music, just because, you know, I would love for that to be out there in some way. And since it seems to be gaining some traction, so I would love to see official recordings of these 2 short operas. They could fit with other of the art songs. I mean, I do have actually some of my art songs that are going to be recorded by Sequina Dubose. I was commissioned to write for her, another wonderful soprano. And I'm not sure exactly when those are coming out, but she's going to record them in 2022. And then the songs that I wrote for this Canadian art song project will be on a recording with other pieces, and that I'm not sure the exact date, but I have to turn those in May of next year. So that will be coming out. But as far as the solo thing, I mean, there are a lot of pieces that I haven't played. I mean, there's so many things also by African-American composers. And it's not that I don't still love the music that I've learned all my life by Bach, Chopin, all these wonderful, wonderful composers. But now I find that my curiosity is spurred by things that maybe I haven't played, and that I was, you know, sort of more blinded from my training to not be aware of. And so, yeah, I think if I were to record something else, it would be another recording of music by people of African descent. I mean, I feel like, if, you know, why not do that, you know? I would love to record something by Joseph Williams if he ever writes it down. I'm sorry I keep doing that to you. I'm going to keep doing that. You keep showing up and I will keep mentioning that you're a wonderful composer. So there we go.
Oh, love you so much.
I have to see if he has any songs. So I'll have to look you up.
Spirituals. Anyway, you guys can talk amongst yourselves later.
We got time for one more question. Marion, did you have a question?
I'm wondering what brought you from Leduc here to central Pennsylvania.
Okay. Well, I moved to Toronto because I wanted to get away from Western Canada to a place that was a little warmer and perhaps I wasn't such an unusual visual presence, shall we say. And then from there, I went to Juilliard and I met my ex-husband and he was in Florida State. So I was in Tallahassee and then he got a job at Lancaster at Millersville University. So that's the route that brought me to Lancaster.
Okay. All right. So to win a CD or an uplink, everybody knows how to use the chat box? So the first person to get the answer to this question we'll give out at least 3 CDs. So the first question is, Maria mentioned on her Soulscapes 2, how many of the pieces did she compose? Anybody have the answer to that? Just put it in the chat box. Oh, Betsy got it quick. Betsy was paying attention. 7, yes. And then the last piece that, Betsy, will you give us your email just to make sure we have it? We'll send you the info. The last piece that we played, who did Maria say the composer was? Florence Christian got it. Hi, Chris. I have Chris's email, so awesome. And I don't know, do you want to pick the last question or do you want to just pick a random number, Maria, or you want to ask a question?
Oh, how old was I when I composed Nautical Glimpses?
I know that one. I was listening.
That'll work.
James got it.
Well, I said 13 or 14. I mentioned 13 or 14. So
all right, we'll give one to Kate and we'll give one to James then.
That's fair.
All right. Kate and James too, if you guys would just send us your email addresses and we'll send you some info on how, and everybody else got the information from Maria. Go to her website and you can find links to get upload it or to purchase CDs. Maria, thank you so much. This was our first live at lunch, so we're so happy you are our first guest. Carl Kane's going to talk very, very briefly. Carl's our artistic director. So we're going to do these once a month. So the next one is going to be December 15th. And Carl's going to tell us who our next live at lunch will be.
You're going to put our website up?
Yep, it's up there for everybody. It's an easy one, mariacorley.com. So
okay. Oh,
yep, it's up in the chat box.
I'm up. In December, on December 15th, we'll be joined by the violinist Ariel Horowitz. Ariel is a fantastic violinist. She will be joining us live in person on September the 4th. She and her friends Jordan Back, who is a violist, and Winona Wang, piano, will be putting together a program especially for us, unusual piano trio, violin, viola, and piano, on the 4th of September at the Playhouse. And Ariel will be joining us live at noon on the 15th to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about some of the other things that she's up to.
And Maria, is that your mom's head I keep seeing popping in and out? Is that Eva?
That's
Oh,
Eva.
she just popped off again. Oh, all right.
Yeah,
I was going to get her to say hi to everybody, but.
Oh, get her to tell a story about me. Oh, well, maybe next time.
Last time she just talked about how you practiced all the time as a kid.
Well, when I was practicing, I didn't have to do chores, so.
Anything to sum it up, Carl and Maria? Thank you so much, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Maria, I'm in awe of you and everything that you accomplished. You have so many balls in the air and you put so much beautiful stuff out into the world. thank you. And we really appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. Thank you. Right. All right, well, bye everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.